Hello, friends. I want to carefully take my time to give my counsel to anyone that is currently going through abuse in his or her marriage. First, let me remind you that marriage is beautiful. It's a beautiful blessing given to us by God. It's totally noble, fulfilling, and enriching experience that everyone should desire to have. But there is this threat against beautiful marriages, and that is domestic abuse, or just call it abuse in marriage. It's a monster that has robbed beautiful marriages of joy, peace, and happiness. Instead, it has deposited fear, anxiety, and in many cases, even death. Domestic abuse is not gender exclusive. It affects both men and women. A National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey research showed that 1 in 4 women experience domestic violence, while for men, the number is 1 in 7 men. Domestic abuse takes different forms. Most times, it means physical violence, where a partner is physically hurting the other person deliberately, underline that. And in some cases, the abuse may not be physical, rather emotional or psychological. But the effects are always the same, whether it is physical or whether it is emotional, they are always the same. You don't feel safe as you are constantly in fear for your life and probably that of your kids, if you already have kids in that marriage. Is simply the same, no matter the name we call it. You're going to lose your sense of self-worth if you are going through a marriage abuse. You feel like a prisoner in your whole home. These are just some of the outcomes we have, for someone who is going through abuse in marriage or domestic abuse. Domestic violence is not normal. It's not a normal experience, and I cannot stress this enough. It is highly and extremely abnormal. And just because your parents experience it in their marriage doesn't mean it is normal. And it doesn't mean you have to go through the same. In fact, I need you to take note of this. There are many things that must die in your parents' generation and never cross over into your own generation or the generation of your kids. This should be a deliberate decision that you will make. And like I said in the episode about abuse in the church, abusers have their target. They don't just target indiscriminately. They have very specific qualities that they look out for. The same way in marriage, when you're picking a spouse, it's a two-way street. There are traits, telltale signs, or red flags that reveal that your partner has the tendency to be abusive by the time you eventually marry. You just have to be vigilant. Some of us may consciously ignore those things, hoping that the other person will change. It's not always the case. You don't have the ability to change anyone. And if you are married, note this, that marriage is meant to be enjoyed and not to be endured. And one of the major joy killers to this blessing God has given unto us is this abuse in marriage. Now, how do you handle domestic abuse or marriage abuse? First of all, and this is very important, if you get nothing from this episode, make sure you hold on to this. If you are going through abuse in your marriage or you are going through domestic abuse, never, ever face it alone. Speak out. Yeah, you need to speak out. This cannot be overemphasized. Don't go through it alone. I know there are various factors that make people choose to be quiet when they go through that. Sincerely, if I should tell you the number of people that have lost their lives Due to this, you'll be horrified. For example, a 2018 report by UN says in 2017, 87,000 women died as a result of this experience. Not to talk about those that were permanently wounded, traumatized, or hospitalized. The numbers are extremely high. And a major factor that is just the silence, the victim's silence. This is not okay. Don't endure domestic abuse, and stop living in regret. Stop blaming yourself. Nobody ever planned to be in such an experience, but you're going through it now. You've got to know how to manage it well. Let people know about it. Let your family know about it, depending on what the state at which is it, depending on the situation. Even your partner's family may have to be informed. But it is so important that you speak to a trusted counselor who, in cases like this, you need an independent third party who will evaluate things objectively and offer sound and godly counsel. Not the one that is biased or with sentiment, but with divine wisdom. And you need it seriously. Don't just keep to yourself. And the decisions you are making, if you are going through this experience, it's not just all about you, even the next generation, your kids, your children's children. If you endure domestic abuse, your children will grow up with the mindset that it's a normal experience in marriage. And somehow unconsciously, you will have passed on that trait to your children. These kids are so sensitive and they pick things. And I'm so sure that this is not what you want for your own kids. Therefore, you've got to speak up. Consider yourself, consider your kids, consider your life, consider the future, and seek for help. You may be thinking that if you speak up, people will mock you. People will make jest of you. People will be surprised that a whole you is going through an experience like this. You don't want to be tagged as someone with a failed marriage. I know probably some of these things are the things crossing your mind, and you're choosing to just be silent. It is extremely dangerous. You need to seek for help. You need to talk to someone and let them listen to you and evaluate things so they will be able to counsel you on the best way you manage what you are going through in your own marriage. And I pray for you that the Lord will give you the divine wisdom on the next step to take. And I pray peace shall be restored in your home. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. In the next episode, I will be talking about red flags, the things you should look out for during courtship that has the tendency to lead into abuse when you get married. And if you are already married, the next episode will also be for you. It will be like, what are the specific things you will do depending on the specific experience that you have? Abuse may be coming in a form of financial abuse. It could be sexual abuse. It could be abuse over any marital subjects. Specifically, I'll be giving you tips on what to do in order to overcome abuse in your marriage. See you next time, and God bless you.